Okay. So thank you all so much for being here today and for taking the time. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone's cell phone's turned off, please.
Yes.
Great, thanks. So the first thing we'll do is go in a circle and have everyone introduce themselves. So if you could share your name and what your hope for the conference is. So we'll start with you, Tom.
I'm Tom. I just want to come to a resolution with what I did.
I'm Laura, and I just want this to be settled today without having to go any further within the university or to the police.
And I'm Haley, and I'll be co-facilitating today, and you'll notice that I'll be taking notes, but they'll be shredded at the end of this, so your confidentiality is safe with us in this circle. And my hope is that you all get what you need out of this today.
I'm Sarah, and I just really want probably to know why Tom took my laptop in the first place, and for him to maybe apologise and figure out why he did it, pretty much.
I'm Harry, and I just hope we can all leave here happy and better off.
Thanks. And I'm Lindsay, and I'm just hoping we can have a space where everyone says what needs to be said so that we can move towards a solution moving forward. So the purpose of our conference today is to talk about what happened and who was affected by it, and then find a way to repair the harms and make things right. And we also want to make sure that this just doesn't happen again in the future. So in order to have this meeting, we have a few ground rules that we ask everyone to follow. So Haley's going to go through those ground rules for us.
Sure. So the first, like I briefly mentioned earlier, is that this is a confidential space. So we ask that everyone respect each other's privacy. The second is that we ask that you listen and speak respectfully, so using I statements whenever possible. And we're going to stay focused on this specific incident today. Are there any additional ground rules that you'd like to add today?
No.
Great.
All right, so we are going to start with you, Tom. So if you could tell the story of what happened just right from the beginning through the end.
So I think it was first period. I was skating the class and fell off my skateboard. Broke my laptop that my parents got me as a graduation gift, and then later on in the day, I was coming back to the halls, seeing Sarah walk out of her room, walk past, and just happened to see her laptop. Didn't really think too much of it, and just picked it up and went to my room.
So you mentioned that you weren't really thinking in the moment that it happened, but how about right afterwards? What was going through your head right after?
I sort of knew I shouldn't have done it, but I think the time had already passed, and I didn't really want to confront her and give it back. I thought it would be easier to just hang on to it.
Mm-hmm. So worrying about that confrontation?
Yeah, definitely worried.
So what happened after that? What happened next?
I sort of just held on to it for a bit. Then when I thought it sort of passed, I just used it more, and then Ari came to our room doing an inspection once and found it. Didn't notice it still had the sticker on it.
Mm-hmm. And what happened then?
He obviously asked me where I got it from, and I told her that I took it from Sarah's room.
So how are you feeling about everything now?
Pretty guilty about the whole thing. Didn't really think I'd get caught, so didn't really think it would end up like this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's that guilt like for you? How does the guilt show up?
I think it's more embarrassing now than if I would have told my parents about breaking it in the first place. So yeah, just gutted I got caught. You know.
Mm-hmm. So who would you say has been affected by this?
Well, probably most of the people in the hall. Yeah, because everyone probably wouldn't think the place is too safe. Probably a lot of people don't trust me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that kind of sense of safety, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Who else would you say has been affected?
Sarah, obviously, because I stole her laptop.
How would you say she's been affected?
Probably pretty negatively. She probably doesn't trust me, or maybe living in the halls as well.
Mm. Anyone else you can think of?
Not really.
Have you talked with your parents about this at that point?
Yeah, I mentioned it to my dad, but didn't mention it to anyone else.
Okay.
So hopefully it get resolved here. It doesn't go any further.
How'd the conversation go with your dad?
He was pretty pissed though.
Yeah.
Mm.
What did he say?
Just called me an idiot and said I shouldn't be doing that sort of stuff. That's not why I'm at university. Mm.
So how would you say you've been affected?
I think one of the things that's affected me the most is just how much of a big deal this sort of cost, and like how it's affected everyone. Just one stupid mistake that I've made is, affected really everyone who I'm living with, and I don't feel like people trust me the same way that they used to, or see me in the same light. So it's been difficult that way, and just seeing how it affected Sarah was pretty tough. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Before we move on, are there any other questions for Tom? This isn't a time for cross-examination, but just to clarify if there's anything else you don't understand about the story. Thank you so much for sharing. Sarah, we'll come to you next. So if you could tell the story of what happened and how you've been affected.
Well, I was doing my assignment, and my anthropology assignment was due the next day after my laptop got stolen. So I got kind of stuck on a question, so I went to ask Jill, my neighbour, and I can't even remember what the question was now, but so I ran next door to quickly answer the question, and then came back and my laptop was just gone. As it was due the next day, my assignment, I was just in major panic, started stressing out, so I luckily had my phone on me so I could email Harry, and then I also called my professor and just let him know what had happened as well, just because it was due the next day. I didn't want him to think I just didn't hand it in. Yeah.
So you said you felt a lot of panic about your assignment. What else went through your head when you saw that it was missing?
Just like, oh my gosh, has anything else been taken? I didn't even know if they'd been through my stuff or what, so I just felt really unsafe, and yeah, you just didn't know who it would do such a thing.
So kind of an insecurity.
Yeah.
So what happened after that night?
I think, I don't know. I was just feeling really unsafe, and I think I told my hall manager, so they said that they would just kind of try to sort it out for me and see if they can track down who would do it, who had taken it. Yeah.
And so then what happened when they found it?
Well, I was really relieved just because it had my assignment on it anyway. Luckily I'd saved it, so I still had a copy. My tutor had given me an extension, which was really kind of them to do. And yeah, just really relieved that I was able to get it back.
So what would you say are the main issues for you?
Mainly just safety, because I thought it was like my home, well, it's the halls, but it's where I'm living, and just wanting to feel comfortable at home, and yeah, safety really.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Are there any other questions for Sarah, just to help us understand more how this has affected her?
I have one. Did you guys know each other before this happened?
Kind of past Tom in the halls, but not really.
Not really. Yeah.
I thought he seemed like a really nice guy.
Any other questions? Well, thanks so much for sharing that. So Harry, we're going to come to you next.
Cool.
You could tell us how this has been for you.
Yeah, so it was, I was on duty that night, and I got the call from Sarah, and so I took it, and she was pretty pretty upset and a big bit like, ah! So we calmed her down and she explained what had happened, and Jill was really helpful. I know they're close, so that was cool. She was kind of keeping her calm, and I just got her story, logged it all down, and then reported it, and I let the head of hall know just because I wanted to make sure that, well, you know, we're a bit worried about if it was someone from the hall or someone that had come in, so we're just kind of on, not on edge, sorry, but just aware that someone might be in the building. So we kind of did a sweep and we called security, but we didn't see anything that we didn't notice. So, and yeah, I just felt, well, I guess now that I know, I'm just kind of gutted that it was one of my residents that took the laptop. So, yeah.
Can you tell us why that's hard for you, knowing it was one of your residents?
I guess you just kind of invest quite a lot of time and effort, and you really want the best from everyone, but especially your group, and so it was just a bit upsetting to hear that it was actually him. Yeah.
So with being right in the hall, how would you say this has affected your other residents or your hall community?
I think it's kind of been said, but yeah, it's just everyone was, until now I guess, everyone's just been a bit like, who was it, how did it happen, will it happen to me? So I think people have been a lot more like vigilant, which is still a positive thing in some regards, but it sucks that they feel that way, that they don't feel like they can leave their door open for a few moments to pop out next door or go to the bathroom. Yeah.
Okay. So you said that you it sounds like you were juggling a lot that night that it first happened. What have been the other kind of professional implications for you?
I'm not really sure. I guess, yeah, it was different to what I usually had to deal with. Usually it's other things, so theft was a new one for me. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did the right thing after calling the head of hall and just took all the details and swept the building. So I guess it was just a learning experience for me. But yeah, I guess, yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing all of that. Are there any other questions for Harry before we move on? Great, thank you.
Thanks.
So we'll come to you next. So could you tell us how you've been affected by this?
Well, obviously running a hall with a number of first years, there's going to be things that happen, but as Harry said, luckily a lot of it hasn't really been theft, it's been more the drunk and disorderly, which is understandable. I guess my main worry is reputational risk for the hall and for the university, because we don't want our students to be painted as thieves, or for people to feel like that's what would happen if they came to my hall. But also I just want to come to a solution where we don't have to engage third parties, and because this doesn't happen very often, this is the first case that I've heard of with this, I thought it was best to bring it to restorative justice.
Could you tell us what the possible outcome would have been if restorative justice wasn't an option?
There's multiple other options, I suppose. It's a clear breach of the ethical code that he has with the university and with the hall. So at a first shot you could be kicked out of the hall. I mean, secondly, you could be kicked out of university, and there goes your whole degree. And then the police could get involved, and then that's a criminal record. So yeah, there's a lot of other options that I don't necessarily think would feel well in this particular situation, but that's what could happen.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Are there any other questions for Laura before we move on? Thank you. So I'm going to come back to you at this point, Tom, and just ask you to go around the circle and name one impact you heard each person say.
Probably with Sarah is probably the fact that she had an assignment due the next day, so obviously it caused a lot of stress to her, not being able to get that in on time, and obviously with her being a straight A student she cares a lot about her grades. Probably with the RAs would be trust, not just for them but for sort of the whole community and everyone. And yeah, obviously I don't want to have the cops and everyone else involved as well, so it would be good if we could come to an agreement today.
Thank you. I also want to give you the opportunity at this point, if there's anything you need to say to anyone, to give you space to do that.
I just want to say sorry to everyone. Sorry for taking your laptop and causing all this drama. It wasn't really necessary, it didn't need to be done, and it's not something that should be going on in the halls.
So we're going to shift gears now and start talking about what needs to happen next to repair some of the harms that we've heard about today and make sure that this doesn't happen again. So in order to do that, Haley is going to share some of the strengths that Tom has.
Yeah, so Tom and I had a chance to get to know each other a little bit better at our pre-conference meeting, and we want to just have a little moment to talk about, we recognize that you're more than this one incident, and so we wanted to share with everyone a little bit more about Tom so that you could maybe keep these strengths in mind as we move into making some good agreement items. So one of the main things that is really cool about Tom is that he's really into visual arts, so he's in graphic design and he really likes drawing and photography, and that's something that he really gets a lot of joy out of. He also skateboards, but is still learning, still figuring that out, obviously with falling and breaking his laptop. Getting there. He's pretty close with his parents. As you can tell, he's mentioned them and their the impacts on them has been a big deal. And he has an older sister who is a big part of his family as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Haley.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'd like to do is keep those strengths in mind when we talk about things that Tom can now do to repair the harm, so that we can try to find ways that he can use his strengths to make things right. So at this point I just want to open it up to the group to ask what needs to happen now.
Well, I guess first of all, I just want an assurance that this was an isolated incident and that it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, it definitely won't happen again from my part. I've learned a lot from it, and it's more the effect that it's had on Sarah, to seeing her. That really affected me pretty much straight after it happened. I was just felt too guilty to give it back, sort of thing. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from it.
Is there something additional that would help you feel that assurance that it's not going to happen again?
Well, I suppose it would be good to utilise your graphic design skills actually, because that would take a big job off of Harry and the other RAs. So we have an event coming up and I would like the posters done for the band that are going to be performing at the ball. So if you were able to contribute that, that would be really helpful actually.
I have another idea too actually, at the ball too, because obviously everyone loves photos and we've got a photographer, but maybe you could go around taking photos as well, and that could be a great way to build some positive rapport with others, because everyone loves the photos, and it wouldn't have to be for the whole time, but it would just be a great way to get other residents in front of you, and you're actually doing something positive for them as well. So it could be a cool way to do it.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple ideas here for ways to repair those harms to the RAs and to the hall as a whole. I want to check in with you, Sarah. What are you needing at this point to repair those harms to you?
I don't really know. Just been really hectic the last couple of weeks after this has all been going on, and now that I finally got my laptop back, I've started on another assignment that's due. Since it's exam time and the assignments are all due, it's just been really hectic. So I need a couple of photos maybe that you could take for me. Just got like my front page and things like that.
I can definitely help out with that. Anything you need, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because then that will show everyone else as well that you are a nice guy. Sorry, well, I know you're a nice guy, but also doing all these other things will show everyone as well.
So I want to check in with you, Tom. Are there other things that you feel like need to happen to make things right?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, just everyone, builds back a bit of trust. If I can do this stuff for the RAs and help out Sarah, hopefully everyone sort of sees me in the light, not as a thief anymore. It would be good. Yeah.
So how about let's have Haley review the ideas we have so far.
Yeah, there's been quite a few good ones. So one of the ideas was to take the posters for the ball, to design or take photos for that somehow, create those. Another is to take pictures at the ball, to be out there going around and engaging with everyone. And then of course to help Sarah with her assignment was the last one that we came up with.
So how do those ideas sound to everyone? Does it feel like if Tom were to do those things, the harm from this incident would be repaired?
Certainly in my case, yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel to you?
Yeah, I think it would definitely help her.
So would you like to put a timeline on these, just to make it really specific and measurable? When would you be able to do these things by?
I could probably help Sarah out just whenever she needs, and obviously
I was planning on doing them a Sunday.
that'll
Yeah,
work.
just Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon if you're
I
free
can
then.
definitely work around you, definitely.
Thank you.
And just whenever the ball is, just obviously have to be there and do some photos. Well, not have to be there, but
Yeah.
I want to be there, take some photos. So yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, cool. We can sort some time frames out
Yep.
following this.
Okay. Great. So what will happen next is Haley's going to go ahead and write up the agreement so that everyone can sign it, and we have some refreshments for you while we wait. But before we close, I just want to go in a circle and have everyone share a final word before we close. So let's start with you, Tom.
I just want to say sorry again to everyone, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to be able to do this with you guys instead of having to obviously go to third parties and hire up. Seems to really work. And yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I'm glad that we were able to go through this process as well, and I'm glad that you're happy, mainly. And I just, yeah, hopefully this won't happen again.
Yeah, just thanks for showing up today, everyone. I was really impressed with your honesty and your openness, and it really contributed to this going really smoothly. We really honor the courage it takes for you to do that. So thanks for coming.
I just want to say thanks to Harry and Laura for helping me out with when I was just freaking out about losing my laptop and my assignment and that. And thanks Tom for being so honest, and I know it was kind of like a spur of the moment thing now. And I do feel like you are a nice guy, but it's just a silly decision. And thank you to Lindsay and Haley as well for sorting it all out and coming to a nice conclusion.
Yeah, I think it was really neat that you're both willing to do it, because it was a big deal to you, like seeing you react, and I guess for Tom too. So yeah, it's been a cool experience, I think, to see both of you walk away from this happy, which is what I wanted, and it'd be cool for me to report back to everyone how positive it went, without reaching confidentiality.
Yes, Tarek.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here and to show up so honestly and genuinely, and congratulations on completing the process. I just want to mention also that Haley and I will be emailing out a feedback form. So if you don't mind taking 5 minutes to fill that out, it really helps us to improve our process and to make it more available to more people at the university. Thank you all so much.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.